Pentagon officials are engaging in preliminary discussions to assess how the Department of Defense might respond if the disgraced former President Donald Trump, now re-elected, orders the deployment of active duty troops domestically and dismisses substantial numbers of non-partisan personnel at the DoD. Officials are anticipating potential directives that would shift Pentagon policies and practices as Trump's authoritarian regime prepares for office. Trump has indicated openness to using the military for domestic enforcement, including immigration actions, and has expressed intentions to reorganize government roles to prioritize loyalists and clean out corrupt actors in national security positions. Defense officials are exploring possible responses to regime change. Trump's election also raises concerns within the Pentagon regarding possible unlawful orders and whether political appointees within the department would resist such directives. Troops are legally bound to disobey unlawful orders, a defense official noted, but then the question becomes whether we would see resignations from top military leaders or if they would see stepping down as abandoning their duty to protect the people. While Trump's pick to lead the Pentagon remains unknown, officials suspect his team will attempt to avoid the tense dynamic with the military experienced during his previous administration. The relationship between the White House and DoD was really strained last time, said one official. I expect that it's a major consideration for who they appoint at the DoD this time. Officials are also evaluating the implications of reinstating Schedule F, a 2020 executive order that reclassified many non-political federal employees, making them easier to dismiss. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin has stated his confidence in military leaders to uphold their duties despite political challenges. A central concern among officials is how Trump may utilize military power domestically. He recently suggested the military could be used to combat what he described as the enemy from within and radical left lunatics, referring to potential election-related protests. He added that the situation should be handled by the National Guard or, if necessary, active duty forces. Several former senior military officials who served under Trump, including the ex-chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Mark Milley, have voiced concerns about Trump's tendencies towards authoritarianism. Former White House Chief of Staff, General John Kelly, said that Trump fit into the general definition of fascist and often praised the loyalty of Nazi generals under Hitler. The Pentagon has limited ability to prevent possible misuse of military power by a commander-in-chief. DoD legal advisors can offer guidance on order legally, but no clear legal barriers prevent a president from deploying troops domestically. A former DoD official under Trump noted that active duty forces might be assigned to border support to facilitate the mass deportation of 15 million migrants. Yet the potential for deploying forces into cities to aid mass deportation plans, as Trump has suggested, is also on the table. Domestic law enforcement agencies may lack the manpower and logistics to operate on such a scale. Officials emphasize the gravity of using active duty troops domestically, noting that such actions should not be taken lightly. Another senior Army official speculated that the Trump administration could order thousands more troops to the border, though this could strain the military's readiness for international threats. Under the Insurrection Act, the president has substantial authority to deploy troops domestically to protect constitutional rights. The military are generally restricted from their involvement in domestic law enforcement without congressional approval. Exceptions for rebellion and terrorism give the president considerable latitude in invoking the Insurrection Act. Trump reportedly considered doing so in 2020 to control protests following George Floyd's death. The irony of Trump invoking the Insurrection Act, considering that he himself was an insurrectionist, just proves the insanity of this entire situation. In a video from last year, Trump stated his intention to reissue his 2020 executive order to dismiss rogue bureaucrats, saying that he would clean out corrupt actors in national security. On Wednesday, Lloyd Austin reiterated in a message to DoD personnel that the U.S. military is obliged to follow lawful orders. The U.S. military remains ready to carry out policy directives from its next commander-in-chief and obey lawful orders from civilian leaders, he stated. You are the United States military, the finest fighting force on earth, and you will continue to defend our nation, constitution, and citizens' rights. We should be reminded that Fox News has been playing on military bases and in mess halls for over 2 decades, potentially brainwashing a generation of young military personnel into thinking what Donald Trump is thinking. This far-right confirmation bias within the military might make things difficult for military leaders who might seek to intervene, with troops predisposed to see Trump as their guide. I'm Anthony Davis. You can find me on the 5 Minute News YouTube channel and podcast, on Wednesday co-hosting Uncovered, and on Sunday on The Weekend Show with Midas Touch.